What's up, guys? Welcome to hopefully another successful edition of QC Live, of another live stream, of another dub stream. I might add, this is another dub stream for the Cleveland Browns. The Browns are 8-3. Now, the way we got here was not beautiful, was not necessarily what you would call sexy, how the Browns got to 8-3, but they are at 8-3. And we can take that for granted if we want, because there are some people who are going to be looking forward towards Tennessee, and they're not completely wrong for it. Tennessee is a game that you need to look forward to, and the Browns are missing that one signature win, and the way they played this week doesn't really indicate that they'll do such a thing next week. So there are things to be concerned about. But let's also acknowledge that you could be the Las Vegas Raiders right now, who just dropped two in a row. One was to the Chiefs, which is understandable. The other one, 43-6 to the Falcons. That could be you. And also, let's acknowledge that the Browns are 8-3, and things got dramatically better for them in the wild card race. 2 weeks ago, we were worried about tiebreakers. We were worried about if the Browns could possibly go 11-5 and not make the playoffs. And now, the Browns are 8-3, and the two teams that held very serious tiebreakers over you in the Raiders, possibly the Ravens, also the Titans, potentially, are now out the way. It looks like the Titans, with the rest of their schedule, if they won that game, they were going to keep the division for the rest of the season. Now the Colts look like they're going to be firmly into the wild card race. If that's the case, the Browns have the tiebreaker. Browns are also 8-3. Browns have more wins. I think they gained a couple games on them now. Oakland, well, not Oakland. I apologize. I always think of them as Oakland. But Las Vegas, same deal there. Lost the game they really shouldn't have. And now the Browns are controlling their own destiny. They have 8 wins. I think 2 is going to end up being their magic number. 10 wins will be the magic number. They have 2 games in New York. They also have a game against Pittsburgh where we don't know who's going to be playing or what that situation is going to be like, given we don't know what the Steelers' next game is going to look like. We have a game against the Ravens, who again are in a precarious situation. And also you have a game against the Tennessee Titans next week, which is going to be a very difficult one on the road. And it's going to be a game that I would love for the Browns to win, because, again, they need that signature win for people to be feeling good, real good, going into the postseason. But the Browns won. There were some ugly things. There were some nice things. And I think the first thing we're going to talk about, because if we're talking about the ugly things and the nice things, is Baker Mayfield's performance. Now, Baker has had, I think, 3 straight performances in bad weather where the numbers made him look awful. But if you actually watched the games, if you actually looked at the tape, he played really well. This is a game where the numbers might make him look like he played a good game. But this was not a great game from Baker. Now, it's notable that a great game from Baker, or a bad game from Baker, my apologies, not so good game from Baker, it wasn't even a bad game, is now a game where he doesn't throw interceptions and he still scores 2 touchdowns. Back just a few weeks ago, a bad game for Baker Mayfield was 2 interceptions, 3 interceptions last year. That was the case for Baker Mayfield. This would have been a very good game for Baker Mayfield in 2019, so he is progressing. Now, Baker Mayfield was wildly erratic in this game. He had almost like a J.R. Smith type game where he could not make the layups to save his life. He missed all the layups in this game, but he made all the contested shots that were available to him. He made some incredible tight window throws in very important situations. I mean, we talk about that 3rd and 12 on the 1-yard line in your own end zone. He backs up and makes a really, really gutsy throw to Jarvis Landry to get you out of that situation. That was a 1 in a million throw. That's a first pick of the draft throw. But then he does stuff like on the red zone where he misses the most wide open I've ever seen a wide receiver in the red zone. I think it was Rashard Higgins. He completely misses him. So, yeah, it was bad and it was good. Now, would you like to see your quarterback make the good stuff? Now, it is an interesting paradox, right? Because you would love to see your quarterback make the good stuff, and then if he doesn't make the hard stuff, the tight window stuff, you'll live with that, right? Because you'll live with the limitations of your quarterback more likely. Baker Mayfield makes that hard because he won't make the easy stuff sometimes, but he will make the hard stuff look so easy. It's frustrating, but hopefully he develops into somebody who can more consistently hit that easy stuff, get those things out, because that's the stuff that he can do and fix later on, and also be that kind of guy who, hey, when your back's literally against the wall, he can make a really tough throw to Jarvis Landry to bail you out of a horrible, horrible situation there. So Baker Mayfield, he deserves some flack. He also deserves some kudos, and also it deserves flack and kudos in context. In context that he did not throw any interceptions. In context that the offense was not nearly close to being the problem in this game. They scored 27 points. It was not the offense's fault why this game was close. It was definitely the defense. And we'll get into the defense. But Baker Mayfield's performance today, I felt like was a good one, but a flawed one. It's one that he can come and improve on. It's not a type of performance that's going to beat you. I mean, it's not a type of performance that's going to beat you, but it is the type of performance that won't win you a game against a team like Tennessee. So if he wants to win that game, he's going to have to play a whole heck of a lot better. Now, somebody who also needs to play a whole heck of a lot better. Y'all know who I'm going to say here, right? Harrison Bryant. Dude, what's been going on, man? Harrison Bryant, he had a really bad game today. I don't know if it was nerves because he was back in his college hometown. Well, not even his college hometown. Well, Central Florida. Well, no, he went to Florida Atlantic, so no. But it was bad for Harrison Bryant today. He was in position to make a ton of plays. Excuse me. And he even made a play and then fumbled in the exact same way that he fumbled against the Raiders. Like, literally, I tweeted, it was the same animation. The literal same, like, if that would have made me rage, if that would have happened on Madden, but it happened, it happened in real life. So it's even more frustrating that, he allowed that to happen. Again, he clearly needs to go back to the drawing board and work on his ball security because it's become a problem. Also, got too excited when he thought he had a touchdown. Just let the ball roll out the back of the end zone. He's very lucky, especially with how the refs were, how petty the refs were today. He's very lucky he didn't fumble that ball out the back of the end zone, right? They could have said he had possession, caught it, rolled out and fumbled it, and that would have been a touchback. So he's very lucky that didn't happen. Again, boneheaded mistake. I don't think if Austin Hooper was in position to make that play, that would have happened. So just a bad game by Harrison Bryant. Hope he builds on it. And he's had a bad couple of games after having his breakout performance against Cincinnati. I hope he gets better. We have a super chat, and I'll get to that in quite a second. But it's just, I wish Harrison Bryant would have played better. The offensive line was okay. They weren't really here or there. Jarvis Landry. Hey, Jarvis Landry finally had the big game. They remembered that Jarvis Landry was on the team. They finally figured out that they have a really good wide receiver named Juice Landry. And it was awesome, right? Juice had like 141 yards. Great yak guy. It was nice to see them finally utilize him correctly and get something out of Juice because they missed so much out of him. Okay, we're going to get to the super chats from Timothy Fitzgerald. Who says, didn't like passing on a field goal to go up 30-19. That is game over. Good content as usual. Q, thanks. Hey, thank you, man. Thank you for the super chat. Thank you for doing all that and supporting the show like that. And if you want your answers or questions read on the stream, please donate to super chats down below. Also, make sure you hit that like button because we have 486 people live, only 105 likes. You know we want to get that number up and away, so let's do it. If you're in the chat chatting, make sure you hit the like button while you're doing it. But it's just, it was a frustrating game. It was not necessarily what a lot of people thought it would be coming in. I thought for this game to be close, Baker would have to throw a ton of interceptions. Nope, turns out that without Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, this defense is awful, which we knew, but I think we kind of had some false sense of security with how well they played the week before, and now that reality has awoken on us again, because I'm going to talk about the defense real quick. Man, Myles needs to come back. Myles Garrett needs to come back. Denzel Ward, please tell me this calf injury is not serious. Please tell me you'll be available against Tennessee because we need you. When Kevin Johnson is in the slot, he's fine. When Kevin Johnson is on the outside, he is awful. Now, the Texans found out about him a long time ago. But the Browns had to find it out today because they had no other choice. So, please, we need those two guys back. By the playoffs, by next week, Miles and Denzel, they were missed dearly. We talk about where Miles was missed. Again, it's the same thing, right? And now, I have to be fair. Because not only was Miles out, Porter Gustin was out as well. So you were kind of running with just practice squad guys out there beneath Olivier Vernon and Adrian Claiborne. So I don't want to be too harsh on these guys. But what I saw out there just wasn't good enough. Not able to get any type of rush, not able to get any type of pressure until the end of the game. And even when you do, and I know people are going to say that was a terrible call, but Olivier Vernon has to have enough mind in him to not go in high. It's been like that. They will call a ticky-tack foul on you if you go in high. He went in high, and, it is what it is. They called the penalty, and it could have cost the Browns the game. Just boneheaded plays right there. And then other than that, the defensive line didn't really do anything. Now, I will give credit where credit is due. I felt like Larry Ogunjobi played a good game, showed up in some moments, and really helped do what he can to stuff up the interior run. He was not the whole today, but, it just wasn't enough. You need to get more pressure going against a team like Jacksonville. That needs to be better. The linebacking play was up and down. Mack Wilson made a couple of plays. Malcolm Smith made a couple of plays. B.J. Goodson really showed up today as well, so that was nice to see. Safety play is what it is. We talked about Andrew Sadejo to death. He's Andrew Sadejo. I don't know how much more critical I can get on him, not because I feel sorry for him, just because it's just that he's Andrew Sadejo, and at this point, criticizing him at the level of a starting safety or a starting, NFL player, it's just pointless at this point. It's redundant. I'm just going to say the same things over and over again. He can't cover a lot of space. Unfortunately, Ronnie Harrison went down in this game early. Hopefully he can be healthy. But, it's just not great right now with that whole situation. So you'll hope to improve from everything that you had there. Now we're going to talk about special teams. Now, get the pat on the back to Cody Parkey. Pat on your back, Cody Parkey. Good job. You showed up. You were the guy that everybody has been saying you are. I appreciate that, Cody Parkey. You showed up in the tough moments. You are not the guy I have the problem with on special teams. My problem is with Donovan Peoples-Jones because I mentioned this last week, and some people gave me flack for it. A lot of people kind of understood where I was coming from. But come on with this Donovan Peoples-Jones, man. Like, I appreciate his effort. I appreciate his confidence in himself. But right now, that's just not what the Browns need at that position. We don't need somebody who's going to take unnecessary risk with the ball. We absolutely, 100% do not need that. That's not what we need on this team. And time again, Donovan Peoples-Jones takes risks with the football that are ill-advised in order to make big plays. Somebody needs to sit Donovan Peoples-Jones down and say, hey, we like your potential. We know what you could develop into. But right now, you are not one of those playmakers for us. We do not need you to play make. We need you to get the ball, secure it with decent field position so our playmakers in Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, Baker Mayfield, and Jarvis Landry, Austin Hooper, whoever else you want to add in there, can make plays. We don't need you to make those plays. We need somebody else because he was awful from a decision-making standpoint. He caught a punt with his own 5. He stepped back. He started with his feet on the 5-yard line and backpedaled and still thought it was a good idea to catch the ball. Why? Why would you do that? And then the one time he finally listens to his coaches and doesn't backpedal and catches it, he doesn't pay attention long enough to realize that ball's about to bounce at the 12, and then the ball gets caught and down at the 2-yard line. it was consistently the wrong move made by Donovan Peoples-Jones. And it made me really nervous in this game with him being out there. I don't think he should be out there at all against top quality teams, and especially if the Browns make the playoffs. He should absolutely not be out there. His decision making is poor, and it's not just that it's poor, it's absolutely reckless. Absolutely reckless. And you don't need reckless from the kick return position unless you're Devin Hester. And you know what? We don't need a Devin Hester. We have no need for a Devin Hester on this team. You know, we need somebody who's going to be safe with the ball, who's going to just make smart decisions with the punt, and he's not making them. And I know it's kind of mundane to go after the guy, return the kicks, but this is something that could cost you. It's something bubbling up in there. It's obvious. And if the Browns don't do something about this, if the Browns don't make a switch here, it's going to bite them in the butt. And I would absolutely hate to see that. We got another super chat here I'm going to get to. Then we're going to get to Kevin Stefanski's talks. He says, Christian Garcia, come get some. Bang, bang, dog pound game. Keep it big up. Quincy, S.O. from the 574. Shout out to you, Christian. Thank you for the super chat. But it's just interesting. But that's my first initial thoughts overview. We're going to jump to a Kevin Stefanski interview here. Kevin Stefanski just took the podium for about 6 minutes here. Let's hear what he has to say. A lot of interesting coaching decisions he made. Some good, some bad. We'll get into it after we hear him talk.
Like you mentioned, we had a play in the flat, didn't make it, but then we should make a play on fourth down. It's inches. So that's disappointing. That's something that we'll talk about with the team. And I say that because our offense has high expectations of themselves. So we if we get in those moments that they need to convert, and they know that, and I can help them out with play calls also, obviously. But I just think we got to have the mentality that if we're going for it there, we got to get it.
And did you know you had another challenge if you wanted to challenge the fourth down stop?
Yes. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Scott. Mary Kate.
Good. Sorry.
Next.
You kind of alluded to this a little bit, but you said you made it hard on yourselves. Just how grateful, fortunate do you feel to be able to come out of here with a victory, with how well those guys battled back and how well Mike Glennon did for them?
Yeah, we knew it was going to be tough. It wasn't going to be easy, and that's what we signed up for coming down here. We knew that. Again, I'm always going to point the finger at myself, and we're always going to look in the mirror and say, what can we do better? Because there's a plenty. And then, better guys. But to know that the guys late in these games playing smart situational ball and find a way to win.
Thanks, Mary Kay. To Jeff Shadell.
Hey, Kevin, could you talk about the game that Jarvis Landry had, the biggest game of his season? What was the difference today?
He's older. Had his birthday yesterday, so that maybe played into it. He does, again, talking about team guys, he does whatever it takes to win. You can find a ton of clips of him blocking down the field, finishing his guys, and then when he gets his hands on the ball and he has strong hands, I mean, the one catch he made when we were backed up was incredible. He does a great job with the ball in his hands. He's a guy I really love to coach him because he wants to be coached and he wants to be great, and he also wants the team to win.
Thank you, Jeff. Jake Trotter, you're up.
Yeah, Kevin, I know, the times it maybe wasn't pretty out there, but could you just weigh in on the significance of getting to 8 wins, and clinching a non-losing season for a franchise that hadn't done that since 2007?
Yeah, we're just trying to go 1-0 each week, Jake. We get
some call-ins next
to 8, and we have a bunch more games here to go. So we're really not concerned with the past.
How did you think Baker played today?
Yeah, I thought he played okay. He made some amazing plays with his feet. I know, like all these quarterbacks, every guy gets out of a game and they're going to want throws back. And I know he's like that. He's hard on himself. But he's making plays on third down. He's making plays on the perimeter. He's running the show. So he's doing a nice job helping us win.
Thanks, Jake. Doug Maurice has our next question.
Kevin, late in the game, you're up 8, about 6 minutes left. You could have tried a 39-yard field goal to go up 2 scores. Why not try the field goal? Why'd you go for it on 4th down?
Yeah, those are things, Doug, I always consider. In the moment, you're considering that. I just felt like the plays that we had would convert. And I take all of it into account, our matchup, the plays themselves, the players that are running those plays. And I felt confident in them that we could continue to, move the chains and have an opportunity to go score a touchdown or like you said, run a few more minutes off the clock and make it kick a field goal. But we didn't get it done. And ultimately I got to look back and see what I can do better for the.
By the way, what do you guys think of some of the play calling? I want to know in the chat, what do you guys think of some of the play calling down there, especially that 4th and inches there? I think they should have got it on the review there. We're not going to talk about the refs. What do you guys think about the actual call there to go with the running back out the strong guy? Do you think that was the right call? Do you think they should have did something a little bit more creative, or should they just went with a quarterback sneak? Let me know there. Let me know what you think of that call. Let me know what you think of some of Kevin Stefanski's play calls in this game.
Hey, guys.
Thanks. Thank you, Doug. To Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Kevin, what can you say about Nick Chubb today, and then specifically at the end there on the 3rd and 12 screen to Ice?
Yeah, he did a nice job on that screen, and we needed the clock to be running, and he made sure we got the first and the clock was running. He's done, he's a very smart player, as everybody knows, just understanding the situation. But I thought both he and Kareem ran really hard. I thought we did a nice job up front. I think we had over 210 yards rushing. So great effort by all people involved that make that run go.
Thanks, Nate. Back to Scott Petrick.
Hey, Kevin, with Baker, is it kind of hard to assess his performance when he makes some really throws into really tight windows and then misses a couple that seem like they're wide open?
Listen, I want him to make them all. There's nobody that makes every throw. It just doesn't happen. All right, that's the nature of playing the game, and he does a great job of playing this game and makes an amazing play for us to win, and he's doing a good job at that. But 100% completion percentage, I don't think it's happened very often.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. We'll go to Jason Lloyd, Nate Ulrich. We'll wrap with Coach. Jason, go ahead.
Yeah, Kevin, I just want to circle back on the challenges, because watching on TV, there was some confusion if you did get the challenge back or not, if you got it in time. If you had another challenge, why not challenge the 4th down spot? When did you know that you still had a challenge?
I don't believe – I'd have to go back and look at – Jason, we were talking about it on the headset, but I don't believe I had that challenge. I got the timeout back, but I don't think I got the challenge back.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thank you, Jason. Final question to Nate Ulrich.
What? That makes no sense.
Kevin, I didn't want to let this go without you having a chance to say something about Callie. So I know you've talked highly of her before, but for the situation you guys would be in, missing a coach, and for her to get the nod to take over, what was the reason behind that?
Yeah, well, first of all, congrats to Drew and Louisa and the birth of their baby girl. That's the big news. So we're excited about them. And then the other big news is Callie, is a great utility player for us, and she can fill in anywhere. And she's involved in the offensive, defensive, special teams. You know what she does behind the scenes for us. And just with what 2020 has brought to us, to me, to this organization, we need people to be team players. And Callie will do anything. She's folding towels in the equipment room because we're down a few people there. So anything it takes. So I'm proud of her and proud of her journey, and it's going to continue here.
All right, that was Kevin Stefanski at the podium, the virtual podium. It's not really an actual podium anymore, but that's what he had to say. We're going to try to get into some of these Discord calls. We got 669 people in here. That's awesome. Make sure you hit that like button. And if you're not subscribed, please make sure you hit the subscribe button. I do great content about the Cleveland Browns all week, every day, pretty much. So if you don't want to miss any of that, then please make sure you hit that subscribe button. Also, let me know. I know some of you guys are saying the audio is weird. Let me know if the audio sounds any better, because I think I just tried to fix it here. But we're going to try to get into some of these callers right now. I think we just got a super chat that's going to come in about a few seconds here. We're going to try to get in. I think I have regular daddy on. Can you hear me, man?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yep. All right, you should be on here. You're on live. So what do you want to talk about, man?
Well, I'm super pumped about this win. I'm super pumped about the whole season. And I wanted to talk about how clutch this team has been the whole year. Like every game, well, pretty much every game seems like it's been close. Like, I don't know. I'm sweating through my Baker Mayfield shirt right now. Just still coming down off that last game. But there's been, by my count, like 5 games where we've clutched it out at the end. And I think every time we've had the ball and we just come down and just make the play. Like Chubb today on that 3rd and 11, he gets 12. Against Houston, 3rd and 3, he gets 60 something. OBJ against Dallas when they were coming back on us like crazy. And then he beats one man in the backfield and takes it to the house. And then Ernest Johnson against Indy, it was 3rd and 9.
3rd and 9 draw, yeah.
Yeah, on our side of the field with over 2 minutes left. Like if we had to punt, we were only up by 6. It was looking dicey. And then Baker, the whole final drive against Cincy, and really the whole second half of that game. I don't know. Like I'm too young to remember the Cardiac Kids, but I don't know. Is this the most clutch team you've ever seen?
It's hard to say that they're clutch just for this one reason. And hold on, I'll get into that reason in 1 second. Robert H. did want to send a correction out because it does make sense. He says it makes perfect sense referring to the 3rd challenge that the Browns did not get because you need to get the first 2 correct. So they lost the first one, won the second, no 3rd challenge. That does make sense. Thank you, Robert, for sending that super chat to clarify on that. But where I'll say with the clutch thing, it's like, yes, they do make clutch plays. Like Baker has made a ton of clutch plays this season on like 3rd and long, specifically in the 4th quarter. He's done that a lot. Nick Chubb, obviously, we know he has a long history of doing these things. But it's weird to say clutch just because normally you associate clutch with coming from behind or being down. And to me, the only time I think they really had to come in clutch was against Cincinnati. To me, clutch is when you have to come behind, and you're playing a team that's not necessarily on your level. The Browns have finished games, and I guess if you're comparing this to old Browns standards, it is very clutch because the Browns don't normally finish games like this. They find ways to lose games like this. So I don't know if clutch is the right word for me, but it's definitely something. Maybe they're finishing, but it's definitely a difference from the years past, and it's obviously the truth because they're 8-3 right now. I mean, this is the first time since 2007 the Browns will not go below 500. That's amazing, right?
Yeah, and just with Baker, last year wasn't so great, but I was going to say it gets better every year with Baker, but I think now going forward with Baker and Stefanski, things are looking very, very good for our future, I think. I'm so excited.
Definitely, man. I'm excited too. Thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you also for being a Patreon member. Also, remember, Patreon members get to call into the show. So if you want to call in, donate to the Patreon, and that'll get you access to the call-in Discord. So again, man, thank you for coming on. Appreciate your support. Go Browns.
Yeah, go Browns. Thanks for having me. Love your content. Been watching you for a couple of years now. It's great.
Thank you, man. Appreciate that. You have a good one, man.
You too.
All right, we're going to try to get to another call here. Got a lot of them today. Super happy about that. Let's see. Matt Bond, we're going to try to get to you next. So hopefully you're ready to go here. But yeah, it's been interesting seeing the Browns team that finishes and that's able to close in these moments. I think it's been kind of the difference. Matt, I think I have you on here. How you doing today, man?
Oh, not bad. What do you do, Q?
Doing good, man. So what do you want to talk about?
Just a few things, man. First of all, people need to ease off on Baker, man. I see people in the chat going crazy talking about he needs to be more steady. He needs to be more consistent. And that's something that's going to come over time. I think he played well. You know, obviously he made some mistakes. He missed some open throws, but he pushes the ball downfield. He hits tight window throws. He's coming out of the past month of playing in crappy conditions. So I think that's going to take time for him to get that rhythm back. But I just need people to ease off Baker, man. Cleveland fans just like to go crazy.
I think this is like an interesting split between Browns fans on Baker, right? Some people that have this ideal, and rightfully so, he is the first pick of the draft in a draft that had some very good quarterbacks. So they want him to be the best quarterback out that draft. I think it's becoming more and more clear that he's not the best quarterback out this draft. Maybe not, at least not at this point. And there are people who are disappointed with that. But as I always say, when it comes to Baker Mayfield, you need to focus not just on what he isn't at this point, because that is important, but also focus on what he is. Because if you lose sight of that, that's how huge mistakes happen, like a Drew Brees ending up in New Orleans, like a Brett Favre, ending up in Green Bay. So I think there needs to be some kind of mindfulness in this. But I don't think it's also something that people should just take one side or the other on. Anything else you want to speak on, man?
Yeah, no, I get that. But at the same, in the same circumstance, he is on his third or fourth offensive installment in 3 years. Like, I think getting through this season and into his second season in this offense, especially being able to have a preseason training camp, you'll see him get more comfortable. And if he doesn't, then after next year, that would be the point where you start to evaluate your quarterback position. But other than that,
I see nothing here that makes me think we need to cut his time short or not give him at least try the 5th-year option with him. I think all that's going to be there for him. It's just, it's all wait and see. I would love to see what he looks like more developed into this system. I would love to see what he looks like in his 6th and 7th year. Because look, if we look at quarterbacks that we all admire, I mean, we might not admire Ben Roethlisberger, but we know what kind of success he's had in this division. We should also note how long it took him to be there. He was for a long time, not an asset to that offense. He was somebody you had to work around, somebody you had to carry.
He was a turnover machine.
Early in his career. He was a project. And they waited and developed, and they got him in a system with Mike Tomlin and was it not who was their offensive coordinator at the time? Was it Bruce Arians, or did he get fired in favor? It ended up being, who was the guy who used to be the offensive coordinator for the Browns? He got Todd Haley. Ended up being a Todd Haley system that he learned. But once he got comfortable in that system, once he got used to it, he started to become the guy. 7 does the 7 do. But yeah, so I think it's gonna take time. You want to see him in the system, and the more and more I see of him, the more and more I'm encouraged of him. But Matt, anything else you want to get on to?
Nah, preach it, man. Keep up the good work. You're out here killing it, man. We appreciate all the content you drive for the Browns. One other thing, when you're going into your film review, don't be calling it the Bat Cave, man. It's the Bot Cave.
I might have to get that one a try. All right, man. Thank you for coming on.
All right. Appreciate it, bro.
No problem. We're going to go to one more. And we're going to talk a little bit about the play calling. After that, we're going to go to Billy. Billy, we're going to go to you. So hopefully you're there. I'm calling you right now. But yeah, it's such an interesting argument, right, with the Baker Mayfield. Because I get it every time I ever talk about Baker Mayfield. I think I got you, Billy.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, Billy, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing all right. How's your heart doing after that one?
You know what? I really never thought that Jacksonville had it in them to beat the Browns, to be honest with you. Like, I know it goes against every natural Browns bone in a lot of people's body, but I just never feared that they were going to do what it takes to win that game. So I was pretty comfortable. I was eating wings, talking to my brother. You know what I mean? I wasn't worried about it. I felt like the Browns would come through. I think they've earned at least that benefit of the doubt. But what would you like to talk about, man?
I mean, I hate to beat a dead horse, but I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about Baker as well.
All right.
infuriating sometimes with some of his throws. I mean, I was taking some notes during the game. I mean, obviously there was that second drive, I think it was, where he missed Higgins wide open. I actually looked at that one again. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt on that one. You know, the struggles of being a sub 6 foot QB in the pocket. I think he was just trying to find a window to throw it through, and it just happened to be up and left. But I mean, that entire first couple of drives, he was just missing high on almost every throw anyway. I don't know if he was too juiced up, too hyped up, ready to go, but I mean, he was missing high pretty much the first 2 entire drives.
Well, I mean, I think also one thing that's a factor, and it's not enough to excuse. I'm not making an excuse for him. It's not enough to excuse the drops, or not the drops, but the misses early on in the game. But he has been used to throwing in some pretty terrible conditions. I mean, 40-mile-per-hour winds 2 weeks straight, and then rain, sleet. That stuff affects your muscle memory once you play with that weeks in a row. And I think that might have been the case at the beginning of this game. He wasn't used to 70 with no wind, so he might have been throwing balls a little bit stronger with too much mustard on them when you normally wouldn't. But also, you got to, if we're going to trash him for the obvious throws that he misses, which you would love to see be improved, you also have to acknowledge that he's made some really tough throws and some really tough moments. And the question and the question I would ask to people is, I understand missing the easy throws is very frustrating, but what would you rather have? A quarterback who occasionally misses the easy throws, or a quarterback but can hit those tough throws kind of with ease, or a guy who's going to make the easy throws but never make the tough throws? You know, it's an interesting conundrum to find yourself, because one is infinitely more frustrating than the other, but the other one might be more useful at the end of the day. And that's just an interesting situation the Browns find themselves in at this point of Baker's development.
No, that's completely true. I mean, I want to give him credit where it's due. He made some absolute dimes. I mean, he hit Jarvis from his own end zone. That was a ballsy throw. That fourth down throw out to Hodges, I mean, that was right on the money. Great catch by Hodges as well. So, I mean, he's definitely making some throws. One of the most egregious throws I thought he made, besides that, third down that he missed to Kareem, where he just threw it 100,000 miles per hour, 5 yards in front of him to a running back. But, like, one of the most egregious throws that he actually made was the out route to Jarvis in the third quarter when they were driving. I think they were down by 2.
Mm-hmm.
He zipped it out there, and it was awesome. But I mean, him and the corner made a contested catch against that corner. But I just think against a better defense, against the Steelers, against the Ravens, that's a pick six right there. Like, I don't know if that was just him thinking that he could be zipping it in there like that, but
that's also him knowing he's throwing it to Jarvis Landry. You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't be so quick to give the credit to any better defense. Like, Jarvis Landry is Jarvis Landry at that point. Like, you do give him a chance on those 50-50 balls because he's Jarvis Landry. And I think that I'll live with, right? You got to give your playmakers a chance to make plays. It's just with Baker, sometimes he's going to have some of these games where he just makes incredible throws and then makes you scratch your head the other one. Now, he didn't miss that many. I think he only missed like 10 the whole game. But there were 3 that were just like unacceptable that would have really changed the momentum of the game and really made it not be as close as it has been. But thank you, man, for coming on. It's a great call from you, man. Appreciate it.
All right, Quincy, I love your stuff. Keep it going, man.
Thank you, man. It was an interesting game today, right? Interesting. I don't think this game was what anybody expected. For this game to be close, it wasn't what people expected. For this game to be close the way it was, nobody expected that. Just a lot of just interesting ways that this game went. And speaking of Baker Mayfield, speaking of all the talk about Baker Mayfield, I think it's only right that we go live to Baker Mayfield right now. So we're going to hit that live button. Baker Mayfield just took the podium in Cleveland.
To all of our guys, we have so many weapons, but, just letting the ball and the coverage dictate where it needs to go. And Jarvis had an incredible day, but not only that, there was a lot of tight windows and contested catches that he made. The guy's unbelievable. I've said that he's a great player. a great teammate. He just continues to always put the team first no matter what. And so we've seen that week in and week out. And so for him to have a day like this, we're very happy for him.
Thanks, Tony. Next up is Tom Withers.
Thanks, Rob. Hey, Baker, given all the obstacles this week, is that about what you expected today, a white knuckler like that?
No, I mean, I really feel like we left a lot of points on the board, like truly do. I mean, there was a ton of missed opportunities from just my perspective, a lot of missed throws. There's only two things I hate more than missing throws, and that's lying and skim milk. And skim milk's just water lying about being milk. So got to make those throws.
What was that? So his
Thanks, Tom. Next question goes to Mary Kay Cabot.
Yeah, can you elaborate on that a little bit? I mean, you made some really, really nice throws. You threw some touchdown passes, but you had to be mad at yourself for the couple that you missed in the end zone. So can you just take us through, maybe a little bit about what happened with the Richard and the Jarvis throws?
Yeah, no, I think I went on the Higgy one from high to low instead of low to high. So should be putting that ball on Higgins early instead of going from Harrison to him. So just late in the progression, just got to put it on him earlier. And then the one to the left, the rollout throw to Jarvis, just get it down. I mean, plain and simple, I've made that throw 1,000 times. And there was a lot of throws today that, I make consistently. So it's just about making them. But we found a way to win, and that's the most important thing. But I'm always going to be critical of myself.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. To Doug Lesmerises.
All right, so for those of you guys who don't know, Baker likes to have fun in these press conferences, so he has like one fun quote in like every press conference. And what I'm trying to figure out is what is the process for this? Like, people don't ask the important questions at these press conferences. What's the process for this, Baker? How do you come up with this? Are you drawn out of a hat? Do you have different scenarios planned out? Are there multiple quotes for every game that you prepare just in case you get 3 touchdowns? You got one quote. If you have a bad game, you got another. Like, I want a really intricate process that this goes in, because we know with sports that this thing's probably more complicated than it needs to be. And I think we deserve answers from that, right? We need to know where Baker Mayfield comes up with these quotes. How do these things go? It's just, we need answers, man. Absolutely.
Baker, the TV sound caught you saying, as the Jags shifted pre-snap on one play, that was effing cute, guys. What's going on in the moment like that for you?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You didn't say that? It was just like you were doing the snap count and the Jags shifted. We could hear the sound at the line of scrimmage. We could hear you say that.
Don't know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Well, they ask him about that.
Thank you, Doug. Next, we'll go to Nate Ulrich.
Hey, Baker, we ask you all the time about Nick Chubb, but what did you think about him again today? And then specifically then when you guys needed to get that first down on the 3rd and 12 screen?
I mean, the guy consistently makes plays when we need him to. He runs extremely hard, and we lean on him, especially late in these games where we need these critical yards, these tough yards to earn them. And we got 2 great backs, but having those guys in our backfield is a blessing for us.
Thank you, Nate. Scott Petrick, we'll go to you.
Hey, Baker, kind of following up on what Tom asked you. We talked to you early in this difficult week. So just how tough was the week with all the, start and stop practices? And then do you think that had any impact on how you played today and the fact it was a close game?
I mean, we still got in as an offense and got working. So there's no.
I'm trying to change some settings around. Does audio sound better now from here?
No excuse for me on that one. Yeah, it's a different week, but we've said that we adjust and adapt, and the best teams this season will have to. So I just have to be better, and I feel like I left a lot of points on the board.
Thanks.
Thanks, Scott. We'll go to Jay Trotter.
Yeah, Baker. You touched on Jarvis earlier. How important is it to get him going like you had him today, going into the backstretch of the season? As you guys try to get into the playoffs here.
Getting him the ball early just gets him in a different frame of mind. He just, once that ball's in the air, it's his and his only. And so he's about to turn it on, and we know he can do that. He's done it consistently always. So we're going to lean on him, but we got a lot of great weapons. He's just the cherry on top.
You guys have had some great moments, obviously offensively, probably still trying to put together, the complete game. Going into these final few games, we're going to be playing some better teams, some better defenses. How do you feel about the offense going into this stretch?
We're continuing to do whatever it takes to win. I know I overheard somebody ask Joel about it. We still haven't played our best ball yet, and I truly believe that, but I feel like we're improving at the right time. And so for us to continue to improve and find ways to win at this point in the year, I think is the most important thing from a big picture mindset. But we just have to be better next week.
Yeah, so also I want to know in the chat down below, because I see some negativity in the chat. Maybe some Jaguar fans jumped in here. Maybe some other AFC North teams in here. Maybe it's Raven fans getting revenge for what I did to Hollywood Brown on the AFC North Talk the other day. But if you're new here, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. But if you're not new here, also I want to hear from you. What's your favorite thing about the Cleveland Browns being 8-3? Just saying, 8-3. Have been that in my lifetime. 8-3. I want to know your favorite thing about being 8-3. I know the Bengals ain't 8-3. Ravens ain't gonna be 8-3.
Thanks, Jake. We'll go to Steve Dorshik.
Baker, to what extent was it in your mind that with the defense having assorted issues this week, it was going to be on the offense to take pressure off the defense with all of the issues they had to overcome?
I mean, we knew with everything going on, we're the only half of the team going into practice, it was going to be a little bit different. So I wouldn't say it's any added pressure by any means, but we knew that this is a game that we were expecting to have a lot of success. And so that's why I'm being critical on the fact that we left points on the board. So no added pressure. We just expected to be a lot better today.
Thank you, Steve. To Jeff Shadell. Jeff, your line's open.
Hey, I want to ask you, when you talk about you finding ways to win, how have you seen this team grow in the 3 years you've been here? Because there were times when you guys would not overcome those situations.
I mean, I'd start by saying it's just a completely different team. Personnel-wise, obviously staff-wise.
Literally.
It's just we talked about building a culture and a foundation of winning.
He's not wrong.
In the spring and having to do that over Zoom meetings. And I think that foundation is coming in clutch when these close games happen. And the things we talk about, important situational football moments, we're able to capitalize on those. And so I would count that to those moments.
Thanks, Jeff. We have time for 3 more. Nate Ulrich, Scott Petrick, and Mary Kay Cabot. Nate, go ahead.
Hey, Baker, obviously, you had the sequence where you miss Kareem out there in the flat, and then he runs for it on 4th and inches. They measure, you don't get it. What did you think of that sequence? And then what does it say about you guys after, the Jags capitalize on it to be able to finish the game? What were you telling guys after that sequence, and what did you think of it?
I mean, we just have to convert on those critical downs. I got to make that throw. We've got to keep the chains moving and put the game away. And then the defense, getting back out there and having a penalty called that's a little iffy, but they did everything they could and stopped the 2-point conversion. So we were able to get back out there. It's just always the most important play is the next one. And that continues to be true as the season goes on.
Thanks, Nate. Next up, Scott Petrick.
Hey, Becky, you've mentioned your missed throws, but you also made a bunch of tough ones, the tight window throws. So kind of how do you process that while the game's going on, and the fact that you're making pinpoint throws on one play and then maybe missing one on the next?
I'd say if you asked any quarterback, the hardest throws are when guys are just standing there by themselves. And sometimes you overthink it in split seconds, but those are just routine throws when you throw on air that you always make. So there's no reason to overthink it. Just got to make it the next time.
Yeah, Baker, you overthink a lot though, man.
Thanks, Scott. Final one to Mary Kay.
Not gonna lie.
Yeah, Baker, I don't know if you had a whole lot of a chance to look up and see what was kind of going on with the defense, but Andrew Zendejo is a guy who's taken so much heat this whole entire season. He came up big a couple of times today, and I'm just wondering, did you have a chance to notice that? And if so, kind of what does that say about him and the kind of guys you have on this team?
All right, real quick before he answers that. Hey, look, I am as sympathetic to Andrew Zendejo's situation as anybody else, right? He gets a lot of hate dogged on him. because he's just not that good at football. Like, that's just the honest truth of it, right? He doesn't deserve it. He shouldn't be in this position. But, man, there are a lot of people, not a lot of people, there are like some people who just really want to make this Andrew. And sometimes it's me. I ain't gonna lie. I put the tweets out there. I'll be pumping up Sendejo. Sometimes it's a meme. Sometimes I'm for real. But, sometimes you want that redemption story to happen. And just like how I think people should be less frustrated with Sendejo because he's just Andrew Sendejo, that's who he is at the end of the day. I also think if we want to have this redemption story happen for Andrew Sendejo, we need to understand he's Andrew Sendejo. He's just not good. There's not going to be a redemption, and we also shouldn't condemn him as if he's supposed to be good. It is something else. But interesting note there with the overthinking. Baker has this thing, though, I would like to hit on real quick, where I think I would love to know if he sees a sports psychologist. I don't want to get into his head too deeply, but I think that would be good for him because some of the times it's the small mental stuff that really affects his game. He's a streaky guy. He's somebody who, when he thinks too much, bad things happens. When he don't, he can hit those tight window throws. It's just interesting with him. Also, like with I don't know if you ever seen a Baker Mayfield mic'd up segment. He's extremely superstitious. So like all those things, I think they might add up to small things that kind of snowball on each other. That's how 2019 happened. But I would love to know if he sees a sports psychologist because I think that would be something that could be beneficial for his game as it continues to grow.
Dejo's a veteran. He's a guy that blocks out whatever eats on the outside because it truly doesn't matter. What matters is in this building. I know we're not at our facility, but within this franchise. But he comes, he leads. He's leading a young group of guys and continuing to show up for us. And if ever added pressure on the outside, he blocks that out and he does a good job of that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary Kay. Baker, appreciate the time.
All right. That was Baker Mayfield coming in with that. And with that, we're going to jump to another Discord Patreon member call in. It's going to be Ian. Ian, I'm about to call you right now. So if you're near here listening to the stream, get that ready. Make sure you have the stream muted in the background. And be ready. The call is live now. So Baker Mayfield brought up some interesting points. I thought that was actually a good interview with Baker Mayfield. You got a little bit of something there with him. Am I getting the echo? Chat, let me know if I'm getting the echo because I hate echoes. I don't want you guys to live through it. I think okay. Yeah, I see why the echo's happening. All right. Let's get rid of that echo. All right. The echo should be gone now. There we go. But speaking of echoes being gone, I think we have my guy here on Discord. Ian, how you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. Q, how about you?
Good, man. So what do you want to talk about today about the game?
All right, I got a couple things to say. First of all, Joe, been a fan for a long time.
Appreciate it.
Second of all, how about those shitty ass arrests?
Hey, whoa, don't cuss on YouTube.
Okay, no cussing, gotcha. How about those crooked ass refs today? Or crooked refs. Sorry.
The refs. Yeah, I've learned because I've been frustrated with the refs a lot of times. I just let it get to me. I've learned just to kind of let it go. Just whatever it is, what it is. Every team hates the refs. But there were some bad calls. I think the spots were awful on both of the run plays here and there. I thought the Olivier Vernon thing with the incidental contact to the helmet, you see that happen from time to time. Sometimes they call it, sometimes they don't. I think Olivier had enough time there to make this safer play and just go low. But they also don't want you doing that. So he's just in a tough position there. That's more of the rules than the refs there. But I get where fans are coming from with the referees. The holding calls, though, that's where it made me scratch my head, right? Where it was like they haven't called holds all season. All season, they have not called holds. And to get a hold all season, it's had to be an egregious hold. And yet, they're calling ticky-tack holds on only the – I saw Larry Ogunjobi be chicken winged 2 or 3 times during this game. Coming underneath, the guy chicken wings him, holds him like that. Obvious, blatant stuff. They did not call it. But they called some of the ticky-tack holds, and that's where I was really upset. with that. And I knew once that sack happened, they were going to call some garbage on it. The Browns put the game away. The score should have never been that way, but it is what it is. I can't sit here and just focus on the refs to the point to where I'm not even thinking about what my team did right or wrong. So for me personally, I just try not to get into it. We'll get as frustrated about what the referees are or not doing or are not doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it gets under your skin a little too much.
Yep.
All right, I had another question about Joe Woods. Is he on the hot seat soon? I know we are missing a lot of starters, but it was against Jacksonville, man. That was a bad game.
Yeah, I mean, we can blame Joe Woods, but we've said all season this defense is a two-man show. In Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward. And we've all kind of known, what this defense was going to look like if those two players were on the field. And I can't necessarily blame that on Joe Woods because he's not the guy who put the roster together. Now, when he's had Myles and Denzel, there have been some questionable things that he has done. So for those reasons, I think he should be considered for the hot seat. But for this game, I get it's Jacksonville and, they shouldn't do this or they shouldn't do that. But they did have a good run game coming into this. And the Browns were weak in the middle of the defensive line. They are short a ton of depth here. I'm willing to give them a pass here. In the secondary, we knew what the secondary was without Denzel Ward. I mean, come on. That's the one thing where I wasn't shocked at all because Denzel Ward is literally the entire secondary. If he's not there, the glue comes unraveled. And Myles Garrett is literally your entire pass rush. And if he's not there, usually the glue comes unraveled. And I think we had a false sense of security because Olivier had 3 sacks and Adrian Claiborne had 2 that we were going to produce this week. And it just wasn't the case. It was more of the same on what this group looks like without Myles Garrett.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Q. I really appreciate it. I love your show. Watch every day. Hope you have a good one, man.
All right, man. Thank you for coming on here. Appreciate you and your support. Thank you guys for coming on there for the Patreon chat. I'm going to try to get my guy Mike in here, see if he's ready to go. But it's just it's a little bit of a frustrating situation with Joe Woods. But I think he's going to get this next year. I think they're going to surround him with better pieces, and we're going to see what he's made of. Then we had a super chat come in from Misfit Culture TV, who says the Jags just fired their GM after the game. Yeesh, crazy how the tables have turned. I'm about to say that is that's some stuff that would happen to the Browns, right? That the Browns are now the team that are breaking other teams' backs, making decisions that need to be made finally happen. So it's not great for Jacksonville, even though they've wanted that GM fired for quite a while. So there are probably a good chunk of people who are actually quite happy about that in Jacksonville. But it's just interesting thing to go here. All right, Mike, I'm going to call you because if I go to general, sometimes it sounds weird. So I'm going to call you personally. We're going to have Mike Keeley on the show here, hopefully. Get him on here. Love to talk Browns with him, Brownies post game, all that stuff. Mike, how you doing today, man?
Quincy, what's going on, man? I am happy. We are 8-3, an ugly 8-3, but 8-3 nonetheless.
Ain't nothing ugly about 8-3. You know what I mean? Ain't nothing ugly about 8-3 visually or physically. It's a tough thing to do in the NFL. What are your thoughts on this game, man?
Oh man, it was an emotional roller coaster for me. I woke up this morning. I've been talking about this game for a long time. Basically, every time I go live on my channel, I'm like, guys, don't worry. I guarantee you we're winning in Florida. They're not coming to my state and losing. I personally guarantee it. Put it all on me. So I wake up this morning and I tweeted out, I guarantee the victory today. And when you do that, it's like one of those things. It's like, I'm welcoming the hate, because they love to remember tweets like that. So it was an emotional roller coaster for me. I put my neck out on the line, but you know what? I like to think in some small way, I helped us today.
Baker missed that first touchdown because he was like, oh my goodness, Mike guaranteed to win. I better make this throw. You made him too nervous. He got sweaty and he completely threw that throw. because of you. Real quick, I want to get into the super chat from Matty Bond, who says, can't fire Joe Woods when he has 3 pieces on defenses. Show some support to Q also with the super chats. He works hard on his channel. Thank you for that, and thank you for helping me, or at least trying to help me get some super chats in. Appreciate that. But yeah, it's been interesting. What do you think of Baker Mayfield today? Because man, that was I don't even want to say like a classic Baker Mayfield game, because he normally does not miss on the easy stuff like that when he's going. It's either one or the other, right? He misses on everything or he makes everything. This is like a mixed bag. I kind of made it like a J.R. Smith comparison, where J.R. Smith will miss everything that's wide open, but he will make them contested threes with ease. And that was Baker Mayfield today. What did you think?
Yeah, I felt the same way. I felt like, today was Jarvis Landry's coming out party, and thank God, because he was throwing it in tight windows, and Jarvis was snagging it. This is the old like 2018, 2019 Jarvis that we saw today, and he bailed Baker out quite a few times. Now, he missed Higgins wide open, he missed Jarvis for another touchdown, and he missed Kareem Hunt. 3 big plays, 3 plays that would have potentially drastically impacted the game. But then, when you have to make the catch, when you have to make those throws in very tight windows, he did it and it worked. So, it's a pins and needles and very like uncomfortable way to watch a game. But, we have a guy out there that is very capable of making big plays when it matters, when it counts. He did it today. He made some really good ones. He also put Harrison Bryant in a position to catch a touchdown there too. So, I mean, he had potentially another one. And you know what? He did what he had to do. And we got out of it. We survived that game. We beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, the 1-9 Jacksonville Jaguars. And, we beat the NFL refs today as well. So it was two versus 1. And we're sitting at 8-3 looking at the Tennessee Titans. Now, let me ask you, Quincy. What are the odds that we will be at full strength, at least with Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett, for the Tennessee Titans game? I need to know this answer.
Full strength, I would say 20%. I think Myles, you got like a 50% chance of getting Myles back, right? Like you might get Myles, you might not. I get 10 days. What was it? He's going to probably be past 14. So you have actually, I would say about a 60% chance of getting Myles back, because that have been way past 14 days. That's the normal incubation period, enough for him to get a workout in, pass his test, and do this thing slowly. So hopefully that happens for him. Hopefully he doesn't have a severe case. But for Denzel Ward, a calf injury, I mean, Wyatt Teller missed a month. Now the difference is Wyatt Teller left the game for his calf injury. Denzel Ward did not leave the game. He did finish the game with his calf injury. Now, I don't know if it happened on that Godart play, but he finished the game. So I think it won't be as much as 4 weeks, but I do think it's going to be at least 2 weeks here. So I think he's going to miss this game. I think he's going to miss the next week's game. And I think next week when you're playing,
it's going to be tough.
A.J. Brown, it's going to be a little tough without Denzel Ward. Needless to say, you're going to need a monster game from Myles Garrett to not make that be a problem. So I'm worried about that. I don't know. I have very little faith that Denzel Ward's going to play, and that's a concern. But I do think Myles more than likely will be out there. And also, man, we see how it's gone with the Ravens. Fingers crossed the Browns don't have any issues flare up this week. Hopefully this week is as bad as it gets for this whole situation. But, if it's not, and if they do, then you're looking at an even more dire situation for the Browns here. And I don't know who else is on that list. I'll have to look at it real quick. We got a super chat here who says, do you think the Browns are a playoff bound team now? They are in control of their own destiny. And they say Raiders and Colts losing. Nice to see. Also, Bot Squad. Shout out to the Bot Squad. But yeah, with the Raiders and Colts losing, Baltimore is an uncertain position as they are in. The Browns are pretty comfortably in the playoffs right now. I think they're like the 5th seed, to be honest here. And now it's about, if you can win the games that you think you can win in New York, it's about trying to see, honestly, do you want to match up against Buffalo or do you want to match up against, what's the other team out there? Tennessee. You're going to find out this week if you want to match up against Tennessee. We got another super chat coming in from Maddie Bond, Patreon member, who says, any thoughts on picking up somebody like Eli Apple or another defensive back free agent? It's just so hard to pick up these free agents in this era where you have to have them work out for 5 days and you have to hope they don't bring anything in, because we know that not everybody treats this with the same level of severity. It's a mess right now. So I don't know if they're going to risk bringing somebody in, especially after what happened with the Ravens. But good things there on offense. I think Jarvis was a refreshing sight. I remember last week I said I didn't even know he was out there till the second half. I forgot we had Jarvis Landry. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, they're great. They're pretty fun. Nick Chubb's really good at football. Like I don't know if there's a better running back Derrick Henry is a more dominant running back. He is a more physical running back, and we are going to find out how good Derrick Henry is next week, because he's going to probably have a good game next week. But Nick Chubb, he is almost as powerful as Derrick Henry, but he is also much faster, much quicker, and I think he has better vision. And he can do those cutbacks. I mean, it's amazing that this guy went in the second round, that this guy in a draft where running backs were going in the top 5 was not considered, that, Saquon Barkley went ahead of him. And I know Saquon's a beast and everything, but man, how do you pass up on Nick Chubb? Like, how was it this obvious? And also, Browns fans, remember, anytime Hugh Jackson tries to sell you that he was going to save the Browns, he tried to trade the pick that ended up being Nick Chubb for A.J. McCarron. So
then he wouldn't play him.
Yeah, let's never let him live that down. By the way, when Nick Chubb was averaging like 50 yards per carry too. But what do you think about the defense today? Obviously out a lot of guys. Was there anybody that you were impressed with? I know we've kind of dogged on them. Were you impressed with anybody?
Impressed? I think Mac Wilson had a nice play where he deflected a pass that would have been a bad one for them to convert on. So Mac Wilson did okay. I think Sendejo whiffed a couple times, but he did come up with a big not interception that so they couldn't get the 2-point conversion. So I'll give it up to him for that. And I'm trying to think from a deep, we didn't put any pressure on statuesque Mike Glennon. Right.
Yeah,
so our defense that had, Olivier Vernon that had all those sacks really, didn't do very much until the end of the game. Then they called a penalty on him, which was not a penalty. So it was like we couldn't get to Mike Glennon. We didn't force any turnovers. We just kind of outlasted them at the end. And the biggest thing about this game today was their coach took a point off the board. How do you take an actual point? How many games come down to 1 or 2 points? And this dude, they convert the extra point and he takes it off and says, we're going to go for 2 when he didn't have to. That was the end of the game. I mean, that guy, their coach was basically a defensive guy for us who took a point off the board. So you could thank him for that victory because it sealed it at the end. Right.
See, the one thing I always say when you have to look out for head coaches, right? Our head coaches, shout out Michael C with the super chat, got the bottom emojis and the life's good emoji. Shout out to Mike C. The wings were good, my man. But it's interesting, right? Because a lot of coaches, they fall into this trap of thinking, and this is something the Browns have dealt with a lot, right? Where they hire somebody or a regime or a general manager who swear they are the smartest person in the room. And we know whenever you think you have the smartest guy in the room, whenever people make decisions that everybody else has to be wrong in order for you to be right, you end up doing really dumb stuff. Like that was Sachi Brown's biggest flaw. As much as he can get all those assets, he always thought he was the smartest guy in football. and it always bit him in the butt. Same thing with Jimmy Haslam. Thought he was the smartest guy in football when he drafted Johnny Manziel when nobody else would. Bit him in the butt. Freddie Kitchens. Freddie Kitchens drove me. Anybody, I think there's a couple guys who follow me. They watch the streams. They used to sit next to me when I had season tickets last year. It would literally make my hair go gray watching Freddie Kitchens try to get the ball to Odell Beckham by doing reverse. By trying to swing things, by trying to scheme Odell Beckham Jr. open. And it's just sometimes just do the simple thing. And that's what the Cleveland Browns coaching staff has done this year. They're not overthinking it. I think they overthink it a little bit on that 4th and inches where they just ran the ball with Kareem Hunt. I felt like that should have just been a quarterback sneak, but that's not an egregious miss. Like, I'm not going to blame you for putting the ball in the hands of Kareem Hunt, who's a good short yardage back. I know some people are like, Nick Chubb should be out there, and Nick Chubb is the best running back on the team. But, Kareem Hunt should be trusted as good as a running back as he is to get an inch. I felt like I would have went with the extra safe thing and just piled it through with Baker. But weird stuff was happening with the ball, so I get why they just wanted to give it to a running back, somebody who's paid not to fumble. Okay, so even that, you're not making these decisions where you have to be the smartest guy in the room. Hugh Jackson, king of this, right? Where he had the QB dive at the 5-yard line against Detroit at the end of half, and he ended up not scoring points because of it. It's refreshing to see we don't have that guy who just thinks he's going to be the smartest guy in football and make a boneheaded decision because.
Let me ask you this, Quincy. Yeah. Let me ask you this. On that play where it was 4th and 1, and I have to go back to look, and this is why I'm asking, were we in field goal range at that point to go up 11 points if we would have kicked a field goal?
I believe that 4th and 1 happened in the middle of the field. I think it was while we were on the other side. So I think we were in our own territory. So I don't think kicking a field goal was an option, or if we were on the other side, I think we were like at the 50, like at the 45 or something like that, where it would have been an extremely long field goal. And Cody Parkey's good from mid to short range. He's just not a long range guy, in my opinion. Real quick, I got another super chat here from Corey Jones who says, I knew it was a trap game against Jacksonville. We always struggle against them. On to the revenge home opener last year. Titans go Browns. Yeah, hey, a chance to look. Here's the one thing I'll say about that game coming up, right? As much as the Titans surprised the Browns in 2019, when the Titans came out of nowhere to blow out the Cleveland Browns, the Browns can come into this game and many people are going to perceive that they're limping. Browns can come in there and make a statement and say, hey, we might not have Miles. We definitely probably not going to have Denzel, but we still going to be the playoff team. And if the Browns go in there and do that, all this talk about how people ain't talking about the 8-3 Browns and how we're getting disrespected, that will end that day. People will notice us and have to respect us. It has to happen. And if they don't, they'll be fools. But yeah, it's just, it's interesting there. I thought Kevin Stefanski, I think I'm starting to figure out more about his play calling and more about who he is and his philosophy. And look, I like people who don't mind taking a risk. Now, I like people who also don't mind taking calculated risk. But, Freddie Kitchens took risks, but they were kind of goofy risks. So I like that he takes calculated risk. Sometimes it's going to work out. Sometimes it's not. This week, nothing was working out. You had a game where literally everything just seemed to be going against you. All the routine stuff that you normally do. When the Browns were on that drive, they had the 4th and inches. That was a classic. Mariano Rivera, we're putting this game out of reach. We're going to score this touchdown. We're going to go up by 10, and we're going to finish this game off like we always do. But it didn't go right. We got the first down like 3 times on that play. and they just did it. It reminded me of the Oakland game. And this, I can't say Oakland because that was a game in Oakland. Of the Oakland game a couple of years ago.
They wouldn't let us win.
Hyde got that first down and they took it away, and that changed the entire season and that changed the entire game from that point on. But here's why good coaching matters. That game, that decision, that whiff changed the game, ended it for you. This year, different story. Did not let that become a thing. Did not let that be something that we're going to be crying about for 2 years on Twitter because we didn't win the game. No, we did what we had to do. We won the game. Now we're 8-3. And people can tweet or comment and hate. I see there's a guy in here talking about we're the worst 8-3 team. Well, I better be the worst 8-3 team than the best team that ain't going to make the playoffs, because that is what it is. Also, we're going to talk about teams that have struggled against teams that are not as good. I mean, we could talk about Pittsburgh, who had a close game with a Dallas team that was starting the Browns' third-string quarterback at the beginning of the season, and Garrett Gilbert. Like Pittsburgh, if you look deep, like they had a close game with Philadelphia as well. There are a lot of teams and a lot of fans of teams talking that shouldn't be talking about the Browns having a close game here with Jacksonville, because a lot of teams have had a lot of close games against teams they're not supposed to. And again, the Atlanta Falcons just blew out the Raiders. You can lose these games in the NFL badly, and it will cost you. The Baltimore Ravens on Sunday Night Football lost to the Patriots, who are not good this year. And that's ending up to be a crucial loss. So look, in the NFL, must-win games are the games you're supposed to win. And the Browns, they've won the games they're supposed to win. Not a single loss you can look at and go, well, that's going to stink that we didn't get that one. The closest one is the Raiders loss, and that's still a team that beat, the Chiefs. They're erratic. They were on a hot streak at that time, and they beat you. You had bad weather, they beat you. Okay, but that's not a bad loss. So people can talk all they want. Browns still beat the Colts, still have done some things. And look, that's what the Browns need to prove in these next up and coming weeks. I'm going to make a video about it later on in this week. But the Browns have one thing they need to do, right? They can go 10-6. They can beat the easy teams. They'll make the playoffs. But the one thing they need this regular season to cement it is that signature win, that signature moment. They need maybe a couple of signature wins, maybe even 3 signature wins. They need that. Well, they definitely do. They need these wins in the back end to legitimize this thing. But for right now, you're 8-3. You're beating who's in front of you, and you've done what you had to do. What are you about to say, my man?
Yeah, I mean, I think the test, and I talk about this on my channel quite a bit, is we had the test in the soft era, this middle kind of part of our schedule, right? The softer part of the schedule, which was right after, I guess, the Steelers game. So you had the Bengals, then the Raiders, and then we went on to the bye, and this is where the soft spot happened, where it was the Texans, the Eagles, the Jags, and that was the test. If we can get through these teams, we're a playoff team. If we can't, if we stumble, we're not, because I didn't want to have to beat either the Titans, Ravens, or Steelers to get to 10 wins. Now we don't have to do that. And if we steal one from the Ravens, from the Titans, or the last game against the Steelers, and we take care of business in New York, then we're an 11-win team, guys. And now we have a safer path in. Today's game really made me uncomfortable the entire way. I was uncomfortable from the minute we kicked off to the very end. But at the end of the day, scoreboard is what the scoreboard is, 27-25. And now we have a path to 10. And I really think because the NFC is so bad, we might have to get to 11, actually.
Real quick here. I got a generous super chat. He unlocked the 2010 Chubba Lubba Lubba Hub emote. Shout out to him, first one to do it. So put this man in the Hall of Fame. Feeling Dangerous 113 with the $83 super chat. 8-3. Let's go. He's feeling it. Hey, I see what he's doing there. 83, 8-3.
Nice. I like it.
Now, if the Browns go 13-3, what you sending at that point, my man? I'm not going to hold you to it. But thank you for that, man. Really do appreciate the super chat there. And again, if you want to get the Chubba Lubba Hub emote, $50 and up, we'll get it up there. But shout out to Feeling Dangerous 113 here for that. But continue on, Mike.
Yeah, no, I mean, guys, we have a chance, and I'm watching your chat too. I see some guys out there. Mick the dog, I see out there. I think I saw Kid Wilson in the house. So a lot of familiar faces I'm seeing in chat, and I want to ask your chat right now. I want to see what is the Quincy Carrier chat prediction for the final Browns regular season record? Because my chat earlier today was pretty much 11-5 was the consensus. We had a couple bullish people going 12-4, 13-3. But I want to see what your chat thinks about what our final score is going to be. Hambone in there, 11-5. Real Browns fan 32 is in the house.
I think we need a
lot of double-digit wins here.
Yeah, I think this team. Look, we'll see how they play against Tennessee, right? That's going to be their toughest game that they have next that we definitely know about. We don't know what the Ravens are going to be like when we play them, and we don't know which Steelers team is going to show up to that game because we don't know if they're going to need that game or not. So this Titans game is their one chance to prove it without an asterisk, right? Because if you beat the Ravens on Monday Night Football, people still ain't going to give you it because of everything that they've been going through, and they've been on a downturn lately. Now, if they go and beat Pittsburgh on Tuesday with RG3, that's going to be a different story, but we'll see with that there. But if the Browns can flip one or two of these games, against Tennessee or the Ravens, goodness forbid they win both of them and get to 10 wins before they even play New York in New York, then, if they just win one of those games, we're talking about probably in that trip to New York, the Browns having a magic number where they can clinch this thing outright. The way things are falling, the way these schedules are going, the Browns are going to have a chance to clinch here if they can get to 10 or 11 with how everything is falling out here and how these tiebreakers are shaking up. You have to remember Baltimore, all their losses right now are in the AFC. And if they lose like they're expected to lose on Tuesday to Pittsburgh, if that game happens, that would be a 5th AFC loss. And then, they got to play the Browns on Monday Night Football. Who knows how healthy they're going to be. That could be another one. Yeah, and if the Browns beat the Titans and then win that one, that might just clinch it. That the Browns are going to be in the playoffs. So
let me throw this scenario
magic
at
number
you,
territory now. What's up?
Let me throw you this scenario.
Yeah,
okay, looking at the Steelers right now, the Steelers have the Ravens, the NFC East leading football team, the AFC East leading Bills. Then they get a freebie against the Bengals. Then they get the Colts and the Browns. There is a scenario here where if things collapse for the Steelers, that last game of the season could be for the AFC North.
I'm not going. I can't do it. I can't. Nah,
we just need two losses. The Colts, the Bills, the Ravens, maybe even a miracle against the football team had a good game today.
Nah, man, I'm not buying it. I can't do it. I'm sorry. I cannot do it. If it's 13-3 though, with the Browns having a loss against Baltimore, I don't think we get that tiebreaker if we're both 13-3. I think they get the tiebreaker because they only have they don't have any division losses right now, and the Browns would end up having a worse division record unless they lose to both. They have to lose to Baltimore and Cincinnati in order for us to have that chance here. But if they beat Baltimore, beat Cincinnati, it's an undefeated division record. Well, a 5-win division record. We don't get the tiebreaker there. So
they'd have to lose 3 games. They'd have to lose to the Ravens, the Bills, the Colts. It's not beyond.
Okay, and then once they get
realm
there,
of possibility.
Yeah, then we would have to beat them, and they would have finished 12. It's not beyond the realm of possibility, and that's why they have not mathematically clinched it. But Browns fans, I'm just saying, just focus on the division. Just focus on the wild card. I think the division is a little bit out of reach, but we'll see. We'll see what that game is when we get there. And maybe if you're the Browns, we might be in a position where like, hey, who do we want to seed up against that game? And it might be a battle not to win it. Imagine that scenario, right? Where
it's true.
Maybe in one, if the Browns win, they match up against Tennessee. If they don't win, they match up against Buffalo, a not great run defense team. You might want to be a little bit more tactical about it. We'll see. It's going to be extremely interesting what's going to go down with this team because we're very close, and this is a foreign concept to Browns fans of the expansion era Browns because it's never happened. We're in the territory of talking about not just making the playoffs, clinching the playoffs. Having a magic, this is stuff we only talk about for like the baseball team. You know what I mean? The Cleveland Indians or the Cavaliers. We don't ever talk about the Browns clinching a spot, having a magic number. And now we have a magic number. We have a spot. You know, it's coming. If the Browns can, especially if the Browns can win one of these games, one of the two, Baltimore or Tennessee, you're talking about clinching the playoffs.
Oh, that's amazing. Quincy, can I do something crazy right now? Can I do a giveaway to everybody in your chat?
Yeah, sure. You go ahead. Is it a giveaway on my behalf or is it a giveaway on your behalf?
It's a giveaway. So we do a Victory Monday giveaway on my channel every Wednesday. The Victory Monday mug from Cleveland Clothing Co. I want to do a giveaway right now. You've got 650 people in your chat. I want to do a giveaway for the Victory Monday mug right now. So everybody, this is how we're going to do it. This is how we do it on my channel. Type 1 to 100. 1 to 100 now. Okay? Just type in a number. I'm going to type in a number, and I'm going to put it in. I put in my number. Everybody type it in, and whoever gets closest to it or nails it will win the Victory Monday mug. There we go. Light it up. Light it up. There we go. There we go.
It's going to come in fast and heavy, man.
Yeah, there we go. So we'll give it a little time to bake, and then after whoever wins it, they'll send me an email, and I'll send them out the Victory Monday mug. Well, I'll buy it for you tonight. We'll send it out to you, and then shameless plug. We also give one away on my channel every Wednesday for our Wednesday show, so check it out on Brownie Postgame as well.
Yeah, check out the Brownie Postgame channel. Great hype trailers, great football content, a lot of great stuff that happens on there. And Mike, always down to talk some Cleveland Browns football. Hey, man, I wanted to discuss this with somebody else because I feel like I'm going crazy because nobody else discusses this with me.
All right.
Donovan Peoples-Jones, bro. What is he doing? What is he... Why does he consistent? Maybe look, I don't get it with some of his decisions on these punt returns and kick returns because it's like always consistently the wrong decision.
Right.
He will catch the ball when he starts on his 5, backs up, and then catches it on the 3, and then he'll see the ball about to bounce at the 12 and let that one go. Does he just not have a great judgment of the ball? Is that something you develop? I thought he would have that by the time he had went to college. But it was just wow, dude. Like I was shocked. I got another generous super chat from Avery Del Ponte. Oh, that sucks. 1 cent short of the Chubba Lubba Hub. Well, I'll give it to him anyway.
Give it to him.
It went $49.99. Oh man. Oh, that 10, 20, 30. Chubba Lubba Hub. I got to do it myself. I'm sorry. I'm not as good as Jim Donovan, but he says, should have been a beat that booty Sunday. Shout out. However, 8-3 feels a lot better than 3-8. Yeah, it definitely does. I would concur. I've been 3-8 before. It definitely feels a lot better than 3-8. Mike, doesn't it feel better than 3-8?
Oh my God, it feels a ton better. And I think we have a winner for the mug. I went back and looked, and my number was 4. So the winner is Jeremy Allison. Winner is Jeremy. I'm going to type it in your chat so everybody sees it. The number was 4. There was only one person who had it. So Jeremy Allison with the winner. Jeremy, send me an email to browniepostgame@gmail.com with your address, and I will send you that mug right now. But to your question about DPJ, here's the deal. I like him back there for punt returns. I don't like him back there for kick returns because he doesn't have that blast of speed. Neither really does to
Dearness Johnson, yeah. Hold on.
Ernest. And as you saw today, with at least with his first return, was really great. Second return, meh. But I think the nice thing about DPJ and the reason I feel comfortable with him back there from a punt perspective is because he's very sure-handed, right? I like having a wide receiver back there for punts, and he hasn't screwed up yet. So that's the positive thing. The negative side of DPJ is he makes knuckleheaded decisions from time to time that are a little bit risky, and those are ones that eventually could eventually bite him. Hasn't yet, as I mentioned. But then the second thing is he doesn't have world-class speed. He's not like a Metcalf type guy or even a Josh Cribbs who's just going to go, balls out and just run with his head forward, right? He's a little bit more of an agile type guy. So I don't think we can really expect him to break any for touchdowns per se, or at least have that expectation. But I don't see a guy who's going to fumble and really hurt us either. So it's like we're hedging our bet with having him back there. And that's how I look at DPJ.
Yeah. Look, I appreciate DPJ. I appreciate his energy and his enthusiasm and his wish to want to get some reps, and his ability to make a play because he does have decent vision once he does get the ball. My argument is the Browns are not a team that needs to be worried about developing their next great punt returner. Like, those days are over. Like, our offense is fine, bro. Like, we don't need you to contribute. Like, that's just my stance on it. We do not need a Donovan Peoples-Jones punt return contribution to win this game. We just need the ball. That's what the Browns need. The ball to get to Nick Chubb, to get to Kareem Hunt, to get into the hands of Baker Mayfield, to get into the hands of Jarvis Landry. Those are the guys who we need to win the game, and when you have dudes who are going to take unnecessary risk with the ball, you risk that happening. It's like if you have Patrick Mahomes, you don't really need the flashy dude returning the punts. Now, they do have they got like Nico Perman, but that's a whole different situation down there in Kansas City. He's also a sure-handed punt returner. He's also a very smart punt returner. But if he's not going to make the right decisions there, I think, hey, look, you need to tell the young fella, until you exhibit better decision-making ability in next year's preseason, we're going to have to take you off of that and put somebody, put a short-handed guy in there. You could put Jarvis in there, but just tell Jarvis he's never going to do it. That's why you couldn't put him there. But ideally, you would want to put Jarvis there and tell Jarvis, you're not returning any of these. It's fair catch or let it bounce. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to find a way, because I am terrified that kid is going to make the wrong decision against a very good special teams unit in the wrong situation, and it's going to be costly. And I do not want to be right about that. I do not want to be right about that like I was about Austin Seibert. I do not want to be right about that. I want to be all the way wrong. I want Donovan Peoples-Jones to make me look dumb, return one of those balls that he'd be fumbling around there for a touchdown, and I'll be like, all right, I was goofy for that one, and let it happen. But I am terrified that he's going to make a mistake, and it's going to be so unnecessary, because Donovan Peoples-Jones, we don't need him to be a playmaker. Like, I get that he wants to make plays, but we just, if him being a playmaker is going to come at the risk of getting the ball to the offense, we just don't need that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I get that you always want to have playmakers, but like, it's sometimes you can outdo yourself.
I'm just not that. I'm in the camp of you can do more damage to your team by not having a sure-handed guy back there for punt returns, right? And as a Browns fan, I almost every time we get a punt to us, I'm holding my breath, right? Because we just had a great drive. We held the Jags quite a few times in midfield. I'm sitting there, I'm like, it's 4th and 4. You're 1 and 9. What? Unless they're sitting there going, guys, we want to try to win, but we don't want to push that hard to win, because we got Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields and this Trask guy who's 6'5", 240 right here in Gainesville. They might be sitting there just tanking on purpose, right? But if you're sitting there punting, we forced quite a few, and they have a really good punter, right? He put us down there on the inside the 10 quite a few times. I'm just in the camp that just give me a guy who's not gonna muff it. Because how many muffed kicks have we had over the last 20 years that have cost us games? And I like that. I'm okay with him not being a burner. And if he wants to pick it up off one hop and then take 2 steps and jump and go out of bounds, fine. Just don't drop the damn ball on a punt. That's all I care.
I'm just like, why take that risk? Why even touch it? Just let it drop. Because what are you trying to save at that point? 5 yards? We got Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
He's good for those 5 yards. We'll get the yards back. Like, we don't need these are not. Oh my God, who had the worst Brown? What's his name? The Mangini. These are not Eric Mangini's Browns. Where, oh my God, if it wasn't Josh Cribbs getting those yards, it was nothing. It was absolutely nothing. It was the most depressing offense on earth. And yeah, it would legitimately be cheer-worthy for the Browns to get a first down. These are not those Cleveland Browns. If you start off at the 20 instead of the 25 because you wanted to play it safe with the punt, Nick Chubb will get it. Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt will get them 5-10 yards back. You're all right. You can get first downs.
Or 13.
Baker can get it. Baker can get it. Baker can get 3rd and 12. Baker's specialty is 3rd and 12 at the most difficult possible situations. That is when we have seen the absolute best out of Baker Mayfield in some of the most difficult situations. We've seen the worst out of him in some of the most easy situations. It's frustrating, but you got to pick and choose your battles sometimes with them. But just we'll be fine if we don't get the punt return yards. We'll be fine if we lose.
I'm 100% with you on that. I just don't put us at risk because too many games come down to a turnover here or there. Today we had a knucklehead turnover from Harrison Bryant that could have very well cost us the game. But don't do it to me on a punt, which is so far we've dodged that bullet. And like you said, it when it makes us all nervous, it's probably something you shouldn't do. But hey, I also wanted to address something right before I came on. One of the guys, one of the Patreon guys, and I missed his name, so I apologize, was asking about Joe Woods. I think if I can give my 2 cents on it, I know I'm jumping in and just offering it to you without being asked, but I also want a little bit more clarity on this from you in terms of the last 5 games of the season, what we have. Are we in a situation potentially where we could have the best Browns record since coming back in 99 and still moving to a different defensive coordinator? Is that possible?
I would say unless there is like a defensive catastrophe, right? Like that you barely eke out those 2 games in New York because your defense is terrible. You get blown out against the Titans. You get blown out against the Steelers. You get blown out against, the Ravens, or even you beat them and it was just kind of a sloppy game. And then you go to the playoffs and your defense is clearly the problem in the playoff game. That could happen and he could be replaced. I think the plan is, and I think they knew this going into the season, that the defense was going to have holes. They knew they band-aided a lot of solutions together at the beginning of this, and then Grant Delpit got hurt. And then Greedy Williams goes down with nerve damage. And then, you know what I mean? All these injuries happen afterwards. Andrew Billings opts out, So I think they know that Joe Woods was not playing with a full deck, right? I think that context is known well within the building. I think they're going to do everything they can to give Joe Woods a full deck this offseason. And it makes a ton of sense because offensively, what do you need to draft? Like, you might be a project wide receiver, you know what I mean? For insurance purposes, but not anything like in the first 3 rounds. So you really don't need to do anything on offense in this draft. So you're going to spend free agency in the draft trying to shore up this defense and give Joe Woods a full deck to play with. And if that's the case, he'll get that second year, right? And he'll get that chance to show what a Joe Woods defense can do if he has all the pieces that he wants instead of trying to work with a patchwork defense. Now, is that the right move? I don't know. I do think a lot of the Browns' issues were personnel related, and I do think, and I've been critical about Andrew Berry on this one, that he didn't do enough on the interior defensive line. Still can't stop the interior run. That's not a scheme problem. That's a personnel problem, in my opinion. The help alongside Myles Garrett, I know Olivier showed up the last 2 games, but it's been suspect all year. We knew that with Olivier Vernon. To his credit, he tried to get better help, just couldn't land it. We knew what the linebacking situation has actually been a pleasant surprise. I will give Andrew Berry that credit. And we knew what the safety position was going to be the second Grant Delpit got hurt. And we knew what that secondary, what their strengths were and what their strengths weren't going to be. And all those things have proven out. So everything that you can point to that's been an issue on this defense has been a personnel problem. where they just don't have the right personnel, where they just don't have the right people. They don't have the right amount of depth to be able to hold up in certain situations. And these were very predictable even in the offseason. So for that alone, I think he does deserve a chance to play it with the full deck and see what he can put out there. Because with the Browns offense, especially if you get Odell back next year, you don't need this defense to be great. You just need to be top 15. You know, if they could be top 15 and have a good offense, you have a championship contending team, quite honestly. So that's the magic formula for the Cleveland Browns. Will they hit it? I have no idea. I think that they're probably going to give Joe Woods a chance to hear. What do you think?
I think I get frustrated with him, but I also like try to give him the benefit of the doubt that it's his first year, so he's kind of learning on the job. He wasn't a defensive coordinator in the past. He was a defensive backs coach, so it's not like it's not like he's a retread. It's not like a Greg Williams guy where you see him doing stuff like putting, Peppers 40 yards in the secondary, right? So he's not doing any head scratching moves. He is letting Myles Garrett be Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett's having the best season arguably of his career. So there's some good things that he's doing with it. And it just comes down to the personnel. I think Joe Woods' issue is the personnel. And having Andrew Sandejo back there, who, by the way, guys, I know we all like to rag on Sandejo, but here's something that is just has to be said. He was not brought in here to be a starting safety for the Browns. He was a backup safety. Grant Delpit was the guy who we drafted to be the future, in our secondary. He goes down. We've had just injuries left and right that made Sandejo play. Right. So it's not necessarily Joe's fault. Like you mentioned, I mean, he's not the one going out to get the ingredients. He's got to put the recipe together. And earlier in the season, that's where I was frustrated with Joe Woods, was when we were giving up 30 points or more to every team we played. And I'm like, this isn't a consistent thing that we can do. We're not going to be able to score 40 points a game every game. Right. Eventually, our offense is going to come back down to earth, which we had happen quite a few times, including the Raiders game. So I think the only way that Joe Woods is not retained is if we have a terrible final 5 games, miss the playoffs, or if we get blown out again by just bad coaching decisions. Right. Coaching decisions are different from what happens on the field. The crazy stuff happens on the field, not up to. But I think he's at least earned his way to a second season, and then we take it from there. With better players, because they're definitely gonna address the safety position. They're definitely gonna have to address the cornerback position. Now that we don't know what the heck's gonna happen with Greedy Williams, if we're ever gonna see him play again, I don't know. But we have to have somebody on the other side of Denzel. And oh, by the way, Denzel is having a hard time staying healthy in the NFL as well, right? For as great as he is. We have to have guys who can play on the field. So like you were saying about the draft, if we draft an offensive player, I'm going to be pissed because we don't need it at this point. Even depth, we don't need at this point. I'm cool with our wide receivers, our tight ends, our offensive line, even to a certain degree, and and our running backs. So it really comes down to, can we get that defense? And if you give Joe Woods that and another year to learn and grow, and Kevin Stefanski as well, right? Keep in mind, this is Stefanski's first year. He's not perfect. I think we've got a good future ahead of us, and I think we stick with it and see what happens. But again, who knows? Time's going to tell. We have a couple games left, plus potentially the playoffs here. So all of that's going to make the determination. I know people are frustrated with Joe Woods. I get it, but you try to do this, guys. Go play Madden. Go play Madden and bench Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett and see how that goes for you.
Yeah,
because that's what Joe Woods is dealing with.
Also, the one thing I would like to note is that we focus on what the Browns do so much here because we're Browns fans. We talk about the Browns. I cover the Browns. But one of the things that's been kind of known league-wide is that defense has been terrible league-wide. Like we talk about some of the and I think a lot of the effects of, what would happen with the shortened offseason and everything kind of got overblown, especially when it came to like the new head coach stuff. It didn't seem to really be that much of an effect for a team like the Browns or Kevin Stefanski because they started out hot. But it's just, when it comes to defense, it seems like that's a legitimate problem because we're seeing records being broken by quarterbacks. We got a super chat from Mike Matique who says, never take points off the board. He agrees with you, Mike. 4th and 1 from the home 20, kick the field goal. Definitely, man. But it's just, where was I at? I kind of lost train of thought. My bad.
Joe Woods.
Joe Woods. Yeah, his defense has been bad around the league. And even with as bad as the Browns coverage unit has been, it's like 17th on Pro Football Focus.
I know.
That's how bad the rest of the NFL has been at coverage. It's just been league-wide. And I don't know if that has to do with, it might just be a trend. It might just be, things finally coming to roost. I don't know. I have to look more into it and talk to, the AFC North Talk guys about it. But it's just something that's been around there. So I don't know if we can just get the pitchforks out now for Joe Woods, especially, he did come in, not have a program, and it seems that is affecting the defensive side of the ball more than it is affecting the offensive side of the ball. And also, he's not playing with the full deck. And today, I think it's really tough to judge what this system is about when you don't have the two people who are the system. You know what I mean? Like, we said this how many times? Denzel Ward and Myles Garrett are your system. You did not have your defense today. You had everybody else. And you know what? You made the key stops when you needed to. You made the plays on the 2-point plays, and you won this game by doing that. It was a tight game. You didn't know what the margins would be, but hey, you won this game by doing that, and you got to 8-3, and you survived and advanced. And that's what football is all about. So, if the Browns win more and more games, I think they're going to give Joe Woods a second year because at this point, it wouldn't make him a ton of sense not to. But anything else you want to hit on, Mike?
No, Quincy, I appreciate it. And just as an update for Jeremy Allison, your mug is in the mail. The order's in. I have emailed it to you. You're good to go. So congratulations on that. And Quincy, congratulations again on all the success. Love watching your post-game shows. Thank you very much for having me on. And all those guys, all the Brownie post-game guys in the chat, love you guys too. And we'll see it. I guess we'll talk next week.
Yeah, definitely, man. Like having you on here. Mike, also let them know where you can find them, where they can find you. I apologize.
Okay. You can find me on Twitter at Mike Killey. So I'm on there, or at here in YouTube land at Brownie Postgame. You to just do a search for it. You may have seen some of the hype videos and stuff like that. We've kind of transitioned more to our live content per se. But yes, Brownie Postgame, and then Mike Killey on Twitter.
Most definitely, man. Appreciate having you on here. And appreciate all the patrons who come on the Patreon hotline. They get their name at the bottom of the bar. They get to call in. If you're a Patreon member, you get treated like a king. We have another super chat here from Max Nicoleno. I'm sorry, man. Tell me how to
Max Nikolenko.
There is no easy games in the NFL. That is true. Wins are wins. Dubs are dubs. And you know what? We like doing the dub streams. You know what I mean? I like doing the dub streams. So we're going to continue to do these dub streams. I hope you guys like it. And if you haven't liked this video already, please make sure you hit that like button right now. Make sure you hit it now. Make sure you get your voice heard. Make sure you let YouTube know that you are a real person. So hit that like button. Last week, we got an insane amount of likes. I don't expect us to do that. I think we got over 1.2 thousand likes. But, we could do something similar. Maybe hit 1,000 again. But this has been an interesting experience. 8-3. I thought it would be much better. Much more happy than this. Much more, much more euphoric than this. But it's not, because we're waiting for that signature win. And if the Browns go 9-3 next week, this will be a crazy stream. If the Browns beat the Ravens, that's going to be a crazy stream. And if the Browns beat the Steelers, that will be a crazy stream. But the facts are the facts. The Browns won this game. They are 8-3. And the way the playoff picture looks like, it looks like the Browns are going to have control of their own destiny when it comes into the playoffs. And I know a lot of fans get nervous about talking about the playoffs. A lot of fans get nervous about talking about the future possibilities because of what this team has been through. But this is not 2014. Obviously, the Browns never got past 7 wins in 2014. But in 2014, you had the dysfunction of Josh Gordon and Johnny Manziel looming over that team's success. This year, you don't have anything looming over this team's success. You don't have any dysfunction looming over you. You don't have a drunk frat boy quarterback who doesn't know if he wants to play football in the NFL yet. You don't have Josh Gordon, who can't pass the protocols to get into the NFL to play a game from week to week. You don't have that looming. What you have is a good coach who has led a good locker room that has been largely dysfunction-free with an organization from the top down. And you got to give Jimmy Haslam his credit, because I killed him when this team disappointed last year. I have to give him his credit when this team is not disappointed. I mean, a lot of people said 8-8. Let's remember that. The Browns' prediction from a lot of people, local and national, was about 8-8. We got another super chat from my guy, Misfit Culture TV. Second one of the day. Super generous here. He says, dog check. And then we got another one from Sam Gorey, who says, hit the like button, help this man get paid. Shout out to y'all, man. Appreciate that love. Appreciate that support. But that is the difference, right? This team was not expected to go 13-3, 12-4, 10. I thought 12-4, 11-5 was well within the range, but I was an outsider on that thought. I was looked at as being too ambitious or being too optimistic about this team. A lot of people said 8-8. A lot of people said 8-8. This team was much better than 8-8 in my eyes. And they've lost Odell Beckham. They've lost Grant Delpit. They have lost all of these guys, these key players. Jarvis been hurt all year. They missed Nick Chubb for 4 games. They're still much better than 8-8. You got to give credit to Kevin Stefanski. You got to give credit to Jimmy Haslam for not messing it up. You got to give credit to Paul DePodesta for being right. And, man, if they would have listened to him last year, where would this team be? You got to give credit to the front office, the organization, Baker Mayfield. Because, look, we used to complain about Baker Mayfield games when he actually threw interceptions. Remember that. We used to complain about the Baker Mayfield games where he threw interceptions. We're at the point where we're complaining about Baker Mayfield games where he's 2-0 in touchdowns. He just missed a couple of throws and could have converted more in points, and that could have came back to bite you. So, hey, that's improvement. That's much improvement. Nick Chubb, great pick. So this Browns team is in a different place. They have exceeded expectations of many, and they are entering into a different realm. Ladies and gentlemen, I said last week this race for the playoffs was real. I'm going to say this week, the race to get a magic number for the first time in this franchise's history, not to be playing for their spot in the playoffs, their playoff eligibility in week 17, is real. Browns might even have to start their starters in week 17 because they could clinch the playoffs. It's very possible. If they do something crazy, that's very possible, like beat Tennessee and beat the Ravens, then you're talking about going into New York, and you can clinch that game. You can clinch your season in New York against the Jets, against the Giants. It's very real. The playoffs, it's finally a real possibility. It stinks that, the attendance policies are going to be what they are. You got to make sure the season can go on. But it's just interesting to see what this team has done despite all the adversity, what Kevin Stefanski has proven in his first year. And look, he should be in the running for Coach of the Year because this team's going to have a great record. And he did it in conditions that people thought would be impossible. The 8-8 record predictions was because he would be a first-year head coach in a system or in a offseason that was very shortened and very truncated. But yet, he swung that into an advantage. He did what great coaches and great leaders do, is when they get dealt a hand that's not favorable, they make it work. He made it work. Kevin Stefanski, he's done his thing. This Browns team is in a great position. Let's see where they finish. Let's see where they end up. But if I can say one thing before the stream ends, is I'm happy they're at 8-3. I'm glad they'll be there. And we're going to have a lot of fun talking about what happened this week, but also what's going to happen against the Titans coming up. But the one thing Kevin Stefanski has to do, the one thing this Cleveland Browns team has to do, needs to do, if they want to truly arrive, truly convince people that the Cleveland Browns are back, the sleeping giant has awakened, and put fear into teams coming into the playoffs, they have to get that signature win. And the way it's looking, it's not going to be Baltimore because we don't know what Baltimore's situation is going to be. It's not going to be Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh, week 17, they might not even play their starters. It might not mean as much. So your one opportunity to get that signature win, that win that will tell everybody you have arrived. You are an upper echelon team worthy of only having 3 losses. That you are a team worth fearing is by stepping into Nissan Stadium and doing exactly what the Titans did to you last year, which is take all of your hype, all of your legitimacy, steal it from you in your home stadium, and flaunt it at you. The Titans last year, they took the Browns' chain and they wore it to school the next day. That's what they did to the Browns in week 1 last year. They stole our chain and they wore it to school, and they've been walking around with it ever since then. They did all the things we wanted to do. Beat Baltimore in the playoffs. They did everything we wanted to do, wearing our chain, disrespecting us. Now it's time to go into their house, take our chain back, put that thing on, and rock around in our underwear in their house with no shoes on, standing on the table, letting them know we here, we have arrived. That's what the Cleveland Browns need to do. It's going to be an uphill battle. You might not have Myles Garrett. You might not have Denzel Ward. But you have to get your signature win, and this is the opportunity. Will the Browns be able to do that? That's an answer that we're going to try to get to the bottom of this week. I want to thank everybody who's come to this live stream. I want to thank everybody who has been a Patreon member. I want to thank everybody who's just come in and chatted in there. I want to thank everybody who dropped a like, subscribe, did anything supportive. It all helps out. It's all awesome. I want to thank those who have called in. I want to thank everybody who just watched this game, period, whether you're here or not. I want to thank you guys. I want to make sure that if you aren't subscribed, you hit that subscribe button. If you haven't liked, you hit that like button. Do all those things that help me out. I greatly appreciate it. And I hope you guys hit that notification bell as well, so you can be notified when I upload, because this week it's a big game. We're going to have a ton of content, and I know you're not going to want to miss it. So for week 12 post game, this is Quincy Carrier signing off. Have a great day. Have a good night.